Welcome back, guys. Still under algebraic processes, we'll be looking at factorization of algebraic expression. Now, factorization is simply the reverse of expansion. It means if I expand A to get B, factorizing B should take me back to A. Now, let's say you are given a question like this, which we've done already, A into B plus C. We agreed this is A multiplied B plus A multiplied C. So this will give us AB plus AC. Now the reverse, what I just did from here to here is called expansion. So the reverse is called factorization. The reverse here is called factorization. Now the question is, how do you factorize? You factorize by simply looking for the highest common factor of two terms. So when you look for the ACF of two terms, you bring it out to basically factorize. If I ask you what is the HCF of AB and AC, you will agree with me that the answer is A. You might be forced to want to use the tabular method of finding the ACF. And if you do that, what can go into these two guys is simply A. A will go into AB B times, A will go into AC C times. So making the ACF to be equal to A. You can also use the method of looking for all the factors of AB, which is 1 multiplied by A multiplied by B. Sorry, I can break it down that the factors are 1, A, and B, while for AC, the factors are 1, B, and C. Sorry, 1, A, and C. Now, the highest common factor here is simply A. So now that we know what the highest common factor is, we can factor it out, and by the time you are done factoring it out, you now find how many times it will go into this expression. So the highest common factor here is A. So how many times will A go into AB? Simply means AB over A. A cancel A, you are left with B, plus how many times will AC go into A? This will give me what? C. So this is A into B plus C. So that's all you do under factorization. Look for the ACF of each terms, then factor it out, look for how many times you go into each of the terms, and you get your answer. There are some cases where it will become longer than this. That's why we have questions on the board. So by the time we are done with these questions, I believe factorization will not be a problem for you. Now let's start with px plus py. You will agree with me that the ACF of px and py is simply p. So if I bring that out, p will go into px x times, and p will go into py y times. So that's basically our answer. Next one, we have ax squared and a squared y. What is the ACF? The ACF is simply A. You can get an A from here. We can also get an A from here. You can't say the ACF is A squared because we cannot get an A squared from here. So A is the ACF. How many times will A go into AX squared? It will go into AX squared, x squared times, because A times x squared is AX squared. How many times will A go into negative A squared y? It will go into it negative AY times, because A times negative AY will give me negative A squared y. Over to the next question. ACF of 5y and 15y squared is simply 5y. 5y is common to both of them. 5y will go into 5y once, minus 5y will go into 15y squared. 5 into 15 is 3. Then y into y squared is y. So you can see that 5y times 1 will give me 5y. 5y times negative 3y will give me negative 15y squared. So that's the answer to the question. Now, what is the ACF of m squared n squared, negative amn, and positive bm squared n? So I can see that m is common to all of them. Also, n is common to all of them. M squared is not common to all of them because you can find m squared there, you can find m squared there, but no m squared there. What is common to all of them is simply m and n. So my answer here will be mn, that's ACF. So mn will go into this guy mn times, because mn times mn is m squared n squared. Mn will go into this guy negative a times. Negative a times mn is negative amn. Then mn will go into this guy positive bm times. Mn into this, n will cancel n will cancel one of these m, and you'll be left with just one n. So that will give us a positive bm. Over to the next question. What is common to 6x squared, 8ax, and negative 10xy squared? I believe 2 can go. 2 is common to all of them, and also x is common to all of them. So this will give us 2x into this guy will give us 3x. 2x into 8ax. 2 into 8 is 4. So I have a positive 4. Then you have a. Then the x will cancel x. So 2x times 4a is 8ax. Then 2x into negative 10xy squared. You have a negative 5. X will cancel x and you'll be left with y squared. So that is negative 10xy squared. Now over to the next question. You might be forced to want to do 10x minus 3x, which will give you 7x. So you'll be having something like this: 15x squared plus 7x negative 2. Now there's nothing you can do to factorize this. Now since it's given to us in this form, it's better we factorize them 2 at a time. So there's something common to these 2, you factorize, and there's something common to these 2, you also factorize. Now if what you factorize, you are having same thing inside the bracket here, same thing inside the bracket here, it means that there's something also common. Now let me explain what I mean on the other side of the board. Now remember when we solved question like this, a plus b into c plus d. Let's expand. This will give us a into c plus d plus b into c plus d. So my final answer here will be ac plus ad plus bc plus bd. Now if I'm to factorize from here back to this line, I would say that a is common between ac and ad. So if a is common, I'll be left with c plus d inside the bracket. Then from bc and bd, b is common, I'll be left with c plus d inside the bracket. Now I have 2 terms, and what are my 2 terms? A into c plus d and b into c plus d. So this is simply a multiplying c plus d, and this is b multiplying c plus d. Now what is common between a multiplying c plus d and b multiplying c plus d? You agree with me that c plus d is common. So this is what is common. So if I factor out c plus d from these 2 guys, if I factor out a c plus d, you now ask yourself, how many times will c plus d go into a multiply c plus d? That simply means a multiplying c plus d divided by c plus d. You agree with me that c plus d can cancel c plus d, and I'm left with a, hence the a here. You also ask yourself, how many times will c plus d go into b into c plus d? C plus d will go into b into c plus d. C plus d cancel c plus d, and you are left with what? B. So I'll factor out a c plus d, and I'll be left with a and b. So the same thing will happen here. The same thing will happen here. Now you can see from what we have here, 15x squared and 10x, there's something common, and I believe that is 5x. If that's the case, I can write 5x into 3x plus 2. So 5x times 3x is 15x squared. 5x times 2 is 10x. Now we have to solve in such a way that will make sure that what is inside this bracket should be what will be inside this bracket after factorizing. Now you can see negative 3x and negative 2. We can argue that minus 1 is constant, or we can bring out a minus 1. So if I factor out a negative 1 from here, it means I'll be left with 3x and a positive 2. Because your negative 1 multiplying 3x will give us a negative 3x. Your negative 1 also multiplying 2 will give us a negative 2. Now you can see that we have just 2 terms, which is 5x into 3x plus 2 and a negative 1 into 3x plus 2. Now permit me to get rid of this one and just put a negative sign here. So I believe that you all know that removing this one still means that there's a 1 here. So minus 1 into 3x plus 2. Now what is common between this guy and this guy? You agree with me that 3x plus 2 is common between them. So we can factor out that 3x plus 2. we can factor out the 3x plus 2. So if we do our math correctly, I'll be left with 3x plus 2 in one bracket. Now, how many times will 3x plus 2 go into 5x multiplying 3x plus 2? It will go into it 5x times. So I'll be having a 5x here. How many times will 3x plus 2 go into -1 multiplying 3x plus 2? It will go into that -1 times. So here you have a -1. So that's the answer to the question. Over to the next question. We have 3x minus y all squared. So let me break it down so that you can see it properly. 3x minus y all squared can be written as 3x minus y multiplied by 3x minus y. Now you have 5z into 3x minus y. So I can leave that as 5z into 3x minus y. So I can only break this down for you to see it because it's just raised to the power of 2. So supposing this was raised to the power of 5 and this was raised to the power of 3, you don't expect me to bring out 3x minus y 5 times. So you should know how to get the ACF even without breaking it down. Now you observe that 3x minus y and 3x minus y is common. So one of these 3x minus y and this 3x minus y is common. So I can put in one bracket 3x minus y. Now in the other bracket, 3x minus y from here will go into this guy. You'll be left with just one 3x minus y. So you'll be having 3x minus y. That's this into this guy. You'll be left with just one 3x minus y. Similarly, 3x minus y will go into this other 10 and you'll be left with 5z. So you have a positive 5z. So this is the answer to the question. Now over to the next question. 21a, 3ac, 21b, 3bc. Now, the only thing common here so far for now is a number, and that number should be 3. So let's bring out 3 for start. If I bring out 3, I'll be left with 7a. I'll be left with minus a. I'll be left with 7b. And I'll be left with bc. So I believe that's correct. 7a minus a, 7b, and bc. Now you agree with me that something is common here, and that is a. Between 7a and a is common, and between 7b and bc, b is common. So this should give us 3 open bracket a into 7 minus 1. Then you have 7b minus bc. So this will give us, okay, sorry, this is 3ac. So you have ac here. So that was an error on my part. So this is ac, 3ac. So you have ac, 3 out of here, you have ac left here. So what is common is still a. So this will give us 7 minus c. 7 minus c. Then here, between 7b and minus bc, b is common. So we have a positive b into same 7 minus c. Now you can see what is happening here. 7 minus c is common. So we have a 7 minus c here. 7 minus c is common. So we have to factor it out. Remember, your 3 will remain outside. So you have your 7 minus c. You have your 7 minus c in one bracket. Now 7 minus c into a into 7 minus c, that will give me just a. And the other bracket, and at the other part, 7 minus c into 7 minus c multiplied by b, that will give me just a positive b. So here you have a positive b, close bracket. Now, the fact that we have a big bracket here does not change anything. I can leave this guy as 3 into 7 minus c into a plus b. It has not changed anything. It's exactly the same answer. So that's the answer to that question. Over to the next question. This question is similar to this. There's no need solving this by saying 3x minus 4x is minus x. If you do that, there will be nothing to factorize. So when we get to factorization of quadratic expressions, that's when we are looking at quadratic equation. we'll look at that. You see that when factorizing, you must get to this particular stage where you look for two numbers that when you add up, it will give you the original number that was meant to be here. And in this case, that number should have been minus x. So breaking it down, we are getting this so that we can factorize. So this will be equal to 6x squared plus 3x. What is common there is 3x. So I have a 3x here, open bracket, 3x into 6x squared, that should be 2x. 3x into 3x should give us 1. Then what is common between 4x, minus 4x and minus 2? I believe it's minus 2. So I have a negative 2, open bracket. This will give us a positive 2x, and this will give us a positive 1. So you can see we're having 2x plus 1, 2x plus 1. So we're going to factor out 2x plus 1, and we'll be left with 3x and minus 2. Now over to the last question. We have 14a, 6bc, minus 14b, and 6ac. There's nothing common between, okay? First of all, let's bring out 2. I believe 2 is common. 2 is common or true, so I can bring out 2. So this will give me a 7a. This will give me a 3bc. This will give me a minus 7b. And this will give me a negative 3ac. Now you can see there's nothing common between 7a and 3bc. And there's nothing common between negative 7b and negative 3ac. But there's something common between 7a and 7b. There's also something common between 7a and 3ac. So I can pair these two. I can also pair these two. So let's pair these two and pair these two together. So this will give me 2 open bracket 7a minus 7b. First bracket, sorry, there's no bracket, plus 3bc minus 3ac. So what I simply did here is to rearrange. So I rearranged everything, 7a minus 7b, 3bc minus 3ac. So I'll be left with 2 into 7a minus 7b. I can factor out a 7. If I factor out 7, I'll be left with a minus b. Then similarly, 3bc minus 3ac, I can factor out a 3c. I can factor out a 3c, which is positive 3c, and I'll be left with b minus a. Now you can see that what we have here is a minus b, and what we have there is simply b minus a. They are not the same, but there's something we can do to make them the same. A minus b, b minus a. You will agree with me that a minus b is equal to negative b minus a. I can say it in another way. You agree with me that 7 is equal to negative minus 7. 7 is equal to negative minus 7. So if a minus b is a value, b minus a is the negative of a minus b. So multiplying this guy by minus 1 should give us what a minus b is. Another way is to say that I can factor out a minus 1 from a minus b. If I factor out a minus 1 from here, how many times will minus 1 go into a? It will now go into a minus 8 times. How many times will minus 1 go into negative b? It will give me a positive b. So my answer can be written as negative b minus a, where I can put a 1 here or leave it that way and bring my b first and bring my a next. So in this case, I can change here. I can change this a minus b to a negative b minus a to make here b minus a and make here b minus a. Or I can change here from b minus a to a negative a minus b to make here a minus b and also make here a minus b. So let's change here to a minus b. This will give me 2 into 7 multiplying a minus b. Then if I factor out a minus 1 from here to make here a minus b, the minus 1 will have to come and join 3c here. So this will give me a negative 3c, open bracket. Here will no longer be b minus a, but a minus b, close bracket. Now a minus b, similar. So a minus b is common. So let's factor out a minus b. If I factor out a minus b, this will be 2, open bracket, open bracket a minus b, open bracket a minus b. So a minus b will go into this guy 7 times, and a minus b will go into this guy 3c times. We have a negative 3c, close bracket. So this can be written as 2 into a minus b into 7 minus 3c. So that's the answer to the question. Now you also agree with me that from this line to this line, I can skip this line by saying that from here, what I simply factor out is minus 3c. If I factor out a minus 3c from here will be left with, if I factor out a minus 3c from here will be left with minus b, and here will be left with a positive a. So that's another way you can get your a minus b to be similar to a minus b. So that's that for factorization. So I believe now that you've learned how to expand, you've learned how to factorize. So we'll be moving on to linear equations. That's your simple equation, which are equations having unknowns with powers of 1. So that's what we'll be looking at in our next video. If you enjoyed this video, kindly use the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you are yet to do so, and also share to friends, and leave your comment if there's anything you don't understand, or if there was an error in calculation. You can also drop that in the comment section. Thanks for watching once more. See you guys in the next video.